Hey guys, Forsaken Reality here. In this video, I'll be integrating our medical component into advanced Jigsaw inventory. So at the end of this
Target
video, we'll be
spotted.
able to pick up and use all of our medical items. The UI will all work. Everything will be replicated.
Target spotted.
Each of these items.
Target spotted.
Also, we'll use an item
Target spotted.
weapon equip. It'll put that away. Pull it back out. Bleeding and damage UI will work. Tell me which body part will be hit, and
Target
bleeding,
spotted.
everything works. Kill each other and respawn, which will fix everything.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
So without further ado, we'll look into setting this up. So first thing I want to do is just move this out of the way. So I have a blank copy of Jigsaw in Unreal Engine 5 here. And a copy of the medical component in 423. That doesn't matter, we can migrate it up and it'll all work just fine. So the first thing we're going to do is migrate the medical component into our copy of Jigsaw. And once you copy that over, you can just close that of the medical component. Now that that's done, we're going to want to deal with the skeleton animations. So we want to go to our medical component, demo, mannequin, character mesh, and open up our skeleton. And right here we have this useful drop down for hiding the bones, so we can get easy access to these 4 sockets. If you hold control click, you can select them all and copy selected sockets. And we'll go in the Jigsaw, demo, assets, mannequin, character mesh. And we'll paste those paste sockets on the root, like that. So we have our sockets here. Browse back to this skeleton, and an easy way to set all the animations to the other one is we can delete this one. And right here we can select our jig skeleton and replace references. Save that. And fix up redirectors on your content folder. And now we should have all of our animations set up to our character. If you get that issue, you can just restart your engine. Pause and do that quick. Alright, once that's done, we are going to deal with the character a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of an integration process, but we'll get through it. It won't take too long. So you want to get your character for Jigsaw as well. and the medical character. Just gonna copy this over. You can also just add it through this drop down. And we're just gonna grab down a bit so it's a little easier. All this for now. Control C to copy. Go to event graph. Just Control V that in there. Now we have our sprinting. And we want to replace the camera boom with, or actually we can just remove that since we don't need the camera toggle thinking about it. We won't need this damage trace. And just Control X, copy that and delete it. And I'm going to paste it right here for now. We're going to remove that so there's only one interaction event. Compile and save, and that should have all of that stuff set up for there. We're also going to want to set up our jump. So in our event graph, movements. So bring this down here. Bring that out. Now we'll have us check if we have stamina to jump, and also if we have any legs broken. You can't jump with broken legs. And we'll set our walk speed. Paste that in right here. We have access to our UI, but that's using the same hotkey as our inventory, so we actually want to, I'm just going to Control X, copy and delete that, and I'm going to paste that in here with the inventory stuff. And I'm just going to change this to I for now. So now I press I, we have our medical UI, tab is our inventory. Now we're going to deal with replacing the health and damage. So first thing we're going to want to do is go into the shooting and reload and down here, so we have this event any damage, and that's not going to work for us. So we can actually create our own damage event. And I'm going to search for the character interface. Make a custom apply damage node. This first one's going to be an actor. So it's going to be damage type, and it's going to be a class reference. We're going to make a hit result. Another actor. Reference to the attacker. And a float. And that's the amount of damage. So that's everything for the interface event here. And I'm just going to move some things here. This is the death event. And now they're a little more split up. So I'm just going to come over here and break this. Drag this out. And I'm going to call my BPI apply damage. You get the event BPI apply damage. If you don't see it, you want to make sure you're saved and compiled that. You can also compile and save this. I always like to turn on success only, so it'll automatically save when I compile. So from here, you want to construct damage type. So construct objects from class, and it'll create this for you. And we will take our calculate damage node, plug the type into the return value. We need to get our reference to our medical component. Apply damage. To hit actor body part. And for hit actor, we'll plug in our damaged actor. Our hit bone, we can get that from our hit result. A lot of other information that's useful for damage. Would have been nice if the event any damage had one, but whatever. Plug our bone name in. No, our hit bone name, sorry, in here. New damage into damage. Just gonna set bleed chance to something like 15. Late bleed. Direct damage. We want to get our medical component. Make a little more room here. check if alive. And we need to make an adjustment to this function. So from here we want to add a return node. And then the output will be a boolean. And on this one we'll set it to true. And from here we'll set it to false. We'll go back to our character. File not auto saves. I want to create a branch. And if player is dead, we want to trigger this to event over here. And we can just delete that. Double checking that the health is fully gone. Nothing else I need to adjust there. And from here we want to get full body part current health. Get full body current health. And to make this a little better, just in case you happen to go down, you shouldn't be able to. The system's set up to automatically default it back to 0, but for whatever reason it's less than or equal to 0. And that'll allow us to be able to interact. And now we can head back to our shooting and reload. And from here, I'm going to get our medical component called respawn. Use the update stats and stuff when you respawn. And we'll want to make some adjustments to this function. So we don't need the actor location. Don't need the death UI. Input mode stuff. Movement mode we don't need. Let's handle it on Jigsaw. And let's plug that in like that. And for up here, we don't need the death UI. We don't need to disable movement. Just want to destroy our timers. I just leave that there, just so you can call it from the medical component if you ever wanted to. set the movement mode for any reason. It's an easy access point. It's replicated. So that's death and the respawn event. I believe everything there we need to do. Now we might want to go into our weapon class, because that's where damage is handled. You go with look at your projectile. Get your server on target hit here. And I'm going to add a couple of variables here. One will be the attacker. And one will be for the hit result. And the attacker is the weapon owner. And the hit result we can get from right here. So now the projectile hits something, it will send the target hit and send that over here. From here we want to go call our BPI, apply damage. This will be a message to our damage man. Control or Alt and click here to break that because you don't want to use that damage anymore. So now this will send, when you shoot a projectile, it will go into server target hit. Trigger this node for the damaged actor. The target is also the damaged actor, so we'll get the interface on the damaged actor. And then we'll run this event. So through here, apply damage. Type can get plugged in. Hit result. Attacker. Damage. Remove this apply damage. And that'll be good for now. So that will, everything is all set up for damage and health now. The UI should be fully functional. I believe all that's left is our items, which is the bigger part of the task. Because the replication for Jigsaw is a little bit different. So we'll need to do a couple things differently. So we're going to set up our medical items as Jigsaw items, so they all work through their Jigsaw's inventory. So to do that, it's pretty simple. We want to first Set the parent of this class to skeleton main pickup class. And that's our Jigsaw's pickup class, and we'll get a few new things here. So what first thing we'll want to do is find references to this skeletal mesh and replace them with the skeletal mesh component. Just drag and drop them over it like that. Once we have that done, I'm just going to use the water bottle first off, since there's already a water bottle in Jigsaw, but I'll set up a couple other items. So you want to first, just going to copy this mesh, make it easier. Remove this mesh from that skeletal mesh. Paste it there. The cover doesn't need to be in place, but you can always just drag it over. It doesn't need to though, it'll attach it once it loads into the game to the correct socket. So that's our bottle of water. We have our Jigsaw component. An easy way to set up the bottle of water is by getting the water in here and just copying the container settings here, so you don't have to set up the container. You get the water that can go inside the container. And we can just paste that right there. Just for testing purposes, if we go to our show and hide inventory and disable the F interaction for Jigsaw, place our bottle of water in the world. Oh yeah, we need to, one thing we need to do for all of our animations, actually, easy way to get access to those is filtering for montages. We want to come into all of these and set them to equipment. This will allow the animations to play for the upper body in Jigsaw. Now it should trigger the animation. Now it's not working with the inventory, but the item itself is working. So to get this working, we want to go to our master item. We actually want to come into our bottle of water. And I think we're going to scroll down to here. I'm just going to use this data table of the water bottle here. But I will set up some after so we will know how to set up items from scratch, the same way as Jigsaw would do. You would do it in Jigsaw normally. I believe that's what allow us to pick up the item if I was using the right interaction. So I'm just going to plug back in my Jigsaw interaction and unplug this one. Now we have our water, but as you can see, it won't play the animation. So in our jig character, you just delete this interact for now. You still want our Jigsaw one, make sure you keep that. We want to look for the onConsume interface event. On item consumed. And in here, we're going to want to make some adjustments. So first, we're going to just bring this down. I'm going to add a new pin value here and put this at the bottom for number 2, so the return's at number 2. And the first time we use the amount. We just get a quick access instead of dragging out of there. So this will access this, whatever comes in from there. So first we want to check if our amount is greater than 1. And I'll actually use a select node here. Not a branch. Get a reference to the consumed item, which is right here. And the inside of, which would be what's inside the item you're consuming. So the amount is greater than 1. Then we'll use the inside of amount. And from here we're going to get rep item info and break that. Get data table row. jig multiplayer component. That table reference for the item here. And we're going to break F item info. And look for actor class. So I'm going to drag it over here, and at the bottom I'm going to add a reroute node. I'm going to hide unconnected pins, because the only one there we need is that. There's a lot of them. And then I need to go into our medical component and make a new function. And that'll be to actually spawn the actor, so medical component blueprints. And I'm just going to go to the replication. And while I'm here, we're going to actually want to disable the replication on these because Jigsaw handles that for us. We're also triggering them through notifies, which are already which will handle replication. Next, I get the spawn actor from class node. Create a custom event called server. Spawn actor from class. And don't plug that in like that. We're going to want to create another custom event. Multicast. Set this to multicast reliable. And don't plug that into the server. Just plug that into the multicast. Split that. I guess it's not. Yeah, we'll split that. Reorganize these. And we'll call multicast spawn actor from class. Skip the target because it's getting the multicast from here. Plug everything else in. Make sure the reliable is ticked. Now that we have that done, we'll also want to drag out of here. Make a reference to the spawned actor, which would be a spawned consumable. The case for the medical component. And we're going to set that to replicated. We'll call server spawn actor from class. We'll spawn the actor set here. We'll actually want to go into Jigsaw, Consumable, open up our data table, and for the water bottle, which is the first one we set up here, we want to get our actor class right here. Let's set that to the bottle of water in our medical component. And we have access to that variable through here to spawn the actor. Once that's done, we'll get the amount, which is set right here, whenever the consume function is called. Create a branch. I'm going to check to see this is greater than 1. And it's not. We'll just call our interact from our BBI interaction interface. You want to make sure this is the one for medical component. You can honestly rename this to Consumable. So it makes them stands out a little more from the other one. And so if it's false, we'll trigger that. Get our medical component. Get our spawned consumable. And that will be the target. And our interacting actor will be self, which will be the player. And for true, we want to set, meaning that there is more than one, we want to set the consume amount. So we want to go back into our interaction interface. We can open up the right here quickly like that. I'm going to add PPI to the front of these. In the future, they will be added, so you would need to do that. Set consume amount. And we'll create 2 float values. And one's going to be for the amount in the item, getting it from the Jigsaw. Let's look at the amount to consume from Jigsaw and send it to the item. So we'll choose. Call our BPI set consume amount. Put this out of the way for a second. I want to get consumed item, which is where it comes from right here. Every time this is called, we'll set the consumed item. You can do this with any function event. Whenever you have a function, all these values can be called without creating tons of lines coming out, basically. So we want to get our count from here. And that'll be our mount in the item. And if we call a mount, let's look at the amount to consume. This is going to be used so we can, on each notify, rather than taking one large chunk out, it will split up whatever value we put in. So there's 3 notifies, for example, it'll divide it by 3 and set it that way. I believe that's all we need for right here. We need it to get our medical component and drag it out. Get our spawn consumable reference. Plug that in. And I'm just going to plug this in over here. So that it will actually run the code to handle our spawn. This is just for dealing with consuming the item and displaying it on the UI and playing animations. Animations still aren't working yet. We still need to, our player animations will, but just not our items yet. It's just because of how we're spawning items are not already in the world. They're now being spawned from the inventory. So let's spawn the consumables. And just double checking to make sure that's all good. And we'll set this always spawn, ignore collisions. And that should be good. That up. We'll also want to quick check here at the beginning. Because bullets can apparently trigger this as well. There's nothing that really needs bullets need to come in here for, so we can just do a quick check. Break item info. Data table. Reference. And check if it equals consumable. And if it is consumable, we can plug this in right here. Now we have our set consumer amount started here. Now we will need to go into our master item. Close out a few things here. And inside of our master item, we want to make make a new, actually I'm gonna make an interface event in the interaction interface. We want to call that event that we made set consume amount. And we want to set the consume amount. And set the amount in item. And the amount in item will just directly set here. I'll actually swap these around so it's a little organized. And from here we want to divide for this amount we will consume. So the amounts will be whatever amount you put in the interface when consuming water, for example, that little UI from 100 to whatever your max value is. And I'm just going to promote this to a variable. And that will be instance editable, so you can edit it per item. And basically the way this will work is however many consume notifies you have in your animation, you'll want to make sure the number corresponds to that. So we have 4, so we'll divide so we put 80, it'll divide that by 4, giving us 20 for each consume notify, building up to 80. And that's all we need to do for that. Now we want to go down to our eat or drink. And for increased hydration, get the consume amount, plug that in here. So if there's any hydration increase amount, it will consume it for however much the value is divided by the amount of notifies. Now we were to play and pick up the water bottle and use it. It shouldn't show it in our hand, but now it's triggering the animations and stuff in our code. It's still not replicated. There's some replication stuff we'll need to do. And to get our item to actually show, that's a pretty easy fix. That's because our item reference is not being set in our master item. So to simply do that, we want to pick up item, and rather setting it to the interacted actor, which is never set anymore, we'll set an item ref here, and that will be an actor. And rename this event to attach item because that's what it's doing. Now we're going to set the interacted actor. We can delete this because we won't need to be dropping items using our system anymore, so we won't need to temporarily store the value. Delete the sequence there. And for the drop item, delete all that. Delete all that. But we will still want to plug in register reactor. Now that that's done, we can go back into our master item and we'll set a reference to self here for the attach item. And this should allow the item to attach to your hand. Still some more stuff we'll need to do for replication. Some other adjustments.
Target spotted.
We'll also handle like when we have a weapon out. Which I can actually quickly deal with that right now. Comment. Okay, so we can go back to our jig character, and in our jig MP on consumed, stretch this out a little more. Switch it even more. And I'm going to get this map over here, get weapon slot. And I'm going to search for get active weapon. So let's look at my active weapon. Now I want to check if that's valid. I'm just going to clean up these lines a little quickly. Get the consume item and the mount. It's one good way to really clean up those really messy functions. So we're going to get our weapon, check if that's valid. We're going to get our root component. And we're going to get our medical component. Yeah, it's set second. Server set secondary visibility. We're going to click into this. We're going to remove the word secondary because it can be used for anything. just at the time it was being used specifically for secondaries. So we'll put our root component in the mesh there. And if the weapon is valid, we'll set the visibility to nothing, and we'll also want to make sure we plug in our propagate to children in our medical component. We double click the function back there to quickly get there like I did. So now we can toggle propagate to children, so this will get our attachments on our weapon, hide those as well. Plug that in like that, and if it's not valid, we'll just skip the weapon visibility. You can clean that up more if you want to. So I'll hide the weapon. And we want to unhide our weapon. I want our medical component. Close out this medical character for now. And I'm looking for the replication montage right here. Just gonna move these up a little. This triggers instantly. This will trigger when it gets completed. I think we need to make a new interface event for our character. So we're gonna search character interface. Add a new one. API get active weapon. This will allow us to get access to our weapon from outside of our character blueprint without, because you can't call macros outside your character without this will allow us to do it without casting directly to our character. We'll just need a character reference basically. You want to make sure you file and save that. Interface. And there's also something we'll need to set up in here. I'm just going to make an actor for our active weapon. That'll be our output. And here we want to just make sure we get the right one. Let's look at our equipped primary weapon. And now we can go to our medical component using our character reference. This is just a reference to the character that's been set, not directly. We can call get active weapon, and on blend out, we will want to check if that's valid. And if it is valid, get our root component here again. set our item visibility. Server set item visibility. Make sure it's the one from the medical component. And clean that up some more if you want. Just gonna leave that like that for now. This video's getting a little long. So now our weapon will be hidden. One thing you also want to do is, since it's setting invisible again, and you also want to make sure that you're setting the children, which are the attachments, visible as well. Also, while we're here in the medical component, there's a couple more adjustments we'll need to make. So we want to get our, in the event graph, drop down. Event graph, I guess we can come into the begin play. I go to our light and heavy bleeding. And we'll call this locally controlled macro here. We'll turn off this so you don't see the line trace. And that should be good for the blood splattering fix. And we also want to look for our chance to bleed. So I had to pause for a second just because I quickly find this and I don't want to spend too much time in the video. So I'm going to search for bleed chance and then take body part damage. We can scroll over to right down here. And for this, we're going to go to our event graph. And we're going to trigger the chance for only on server. Run this on only client. Nice. there. And I'll actually take body part damage where the random chance to bleed is. We'll want to check. Our bleed chance is not equal to 0. And our random chance to bleed. That's what we wanted. So random chance to bleed. It's greater than equal to bleed chance. Just double checking that's everything we need. Yep. And we'll also want to plug this in, set the chance before it actually does it each time. Save all. All that's really left to do now is set up and notify for triggering the item animations, because the current method doesn't work with Jigsaw's inventory, and setting up a few items in the medical system. So for the notifies, we're just going to go to the medical component in here. I put blueprint. In this drop down, I'm going to search for notify. Select anim notify. And I'm going to name this play item anim underscore notify. And then from here, I'm just going to open that up, override and receive to notify. I want to make sure that box is ticked right there. Just going to break this off for now and put it right there. And then I'm going to get owner. Component by class. Medical component. I'm just going to set a local reference to this. So that I can use it in this notify. Local references can't be called anywhere but inside the function they're created in. So I'm going to get my local reference. Get my spawned consume ref. Get main item info, BPI. And we'll I'll also get item anim. And drag it of our local medical component. I'll get our play item animation. And for the mesh, we'll get the main mesh from main item info here. And animation to play right here. And we'll also deal with attaching our food item in here as well. So we're just going to drag out. I'm going to get secondary item info. I believe right here you could actually just put play animation. You don't need this server one specifically. So you won't need the medical component. So we have a target that we'll play the animation on. And the animation to play. I'll test that one at the end. Pretty sure that'll work. Anyways, from here we want to check if we have food attachments. So secondary has food item. We'll create a branch here. So hold B and click to create a branch. And if it's true, attach component to component. This is the socket name you'll use for it. And make sure you add that socket to any food items if you happen to add any in the future. And finally, we want our return node. So let's put that right over here in the end. Snap the target for a relative location and rotation. We also need, just notice we're missing a reference here. Spawn consumable from our local medical reference. Plug that in. Just gonna leave that there for now because I'm pretty sure this will work because the notify is replicated because it's played through a montage that's being replicated. So the replication should just follow that. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's everything for this to work. And now we want to go to our animations and animate. You can go up to this drop down for filters, select montages, and in each of these, not right at the beginning, but very close to the beginning, want to play item notify. I'm just going to copy this. You just hover your mouse, control, paste. Control V doesn't work like it says it. Yeah, there we go. Just gotta click in there first, Control V. Put that right near the beginning. All these animations. Notice that you put them at the very beginning. It seems to get an issue with triggering it for whatever reason. Now that we have that done in all of our animations, montages, we want to come back into our master item class. And in here, first want to remove this item animation because it's not going to be needed anymore. I'm also going to copy this branch and this server sets of visibility. And right here, our secondary item. And false. Right now, there's no items in the system that won't have a secondary item and a food because the only one is the can of food, but later on, it could be things like, for example, a bag of chips, where you'd want to not have a secondary item but have food contents, perhaps. And current static mesh. And I'm going to get my local medical component here. I believe that should be good to go for that. think we might actually not want that. I'm just gonna leave that out for now. And back here in the master item, we can just remove all this extra here. So now it ends in server play character animation, which will trigger the items animation. And I'm just going to test on, make sure that it works for clients with that event. Make sure I'm in the same world. Yep, seems to work on the client too. Aware is popping up. Now to show you just how to set up some other items in the system, since there are 9 medical and 2 food items currently. There's a lot more to come and they'll be being added over time. So we'll set up canned food. So we'll come in here and it's going to duplicate the apple for now for canned food. Canned stew. You can add a description here if you want. And you want to set this to the PP canned food in the medical component. I believe that is all you want to do for the canned stew in here. You can search for inspect and get the data table for the item inspector. Sorry about that. You can set that to the bottle. I believe that will set it in the item inspector specifically. You can set the zooming values and stuff in there. And there's another one I know. Inspector and make sure to use his inventory image. Now we have the bottle there, it's really small, but that's because you need to adjust the field of view on it. Here's the values that I have set here. And if you use these ones, they seem to work out fine. Get canned stew. And I'm going to go to the medical component, blueprints, items, and open up the canned stew. For all of these, we're going to need to swap the mesh here and clear the mesh here. We can just eventually remove this mesh. You don't want to remove it until you probably swap them all. That's all you really need to do for that. You set the data table reference in the blueprint. It's in the consumables. And there's nothing in here we need to do because it doesn't have any container settings. No, it's showing up as an apple, but it's saying can of stew. And we use it. Seems to work fine there. Go to the item inspector. It's going to duplicate the water bottle. Let's check and see. Pretty sure that's all we need to do. Yep. Unlike the other one, you can adjust the settings. For me, I'll quickly put this one as well. 5. And that should give us a nice view of the can. Into medical. I guess I'll do the bandage just because no real reason why. We're all the same process. Come in, you clear this, set it to the bandage mesh, clear this. Once you do them all, you can delete this out of the master item class, skeleton mesh right here. Make sure you don't lose any of these. You probably want to take these and attach them off of this first onto the skeleton mesh here by selecting them all and just dragging them up. The wrong one. Need the top category. Give that a name there. We don't need to fill out anything else. Data table. Just gonna duplicate the can of stew, just 'cause it makes it easy. The name lines up with the name and the bandage. Medical. That we just messed up. Select the bandage from the medical component. The description if you want. And duplicate the can of stew. Medical is just what I would use for all the medical items to easily find them when there's tons of items added in. And also keep them organized. And I don't know the locations for this one, but you can just sit there and adjust these. The lower this value is, the closer it'll be, and the farther it is, the farther away. And this will also the location rotation. We can also remove this extra pickup collision off the master item. And going into like that. I guess you could just raise it up. Yeah. There we go. Everything works. There's no water in it. That's going to be everything for this video. You can just repeat that process and continuously add new items in. If you have any questions or suggestions or have any issues with anything, feel free to leave them in the comments below or join our Discord. We're probably more likely to answer in the Discord since we're actively in there most days, all day. And thanks, and that's going to be everything. Have a good one. One quick adjustment before I end this video. Change this to set feed chance. and remove the server replication on it. And in here you want to disconnect these. Originally they're connected like this, so the random chance is greater than that. So when you hit set a low chance, it's most likely always going to be. So you want to just flip these two. So now it's checking the random chance. Here you get that, you can just add a letter in and remove it, and it'll fix that. And that'll now put that in the proper 15% chance to bleed. I guess I just never triggered it at that time. Alright, so one more quick adjustment to make it a little more easier to manage. So you want to change this from a float to an integer. Break out of, delete all the pins for the float that's there. Search for a random integer in range. Put values 1 to 0 in. Make sure that's on server and reliable, because you only want to forget the value once. You don't need to check it on the client and the server. It will give you two different values. And in the take body part damage, you want to disconnect all of the connections for a float there and basically drag out not equals for a integer and delete the float version, and then you just want to drag down. You can either drag down and connect here, or you can set bleed chance to a, I guess it doesn't really matter, it's fine like that. And now we'll check specifically the server. Every time you shoot, and the server has to get the correct value. Disconnect something. Okay, so for the final quick fixes on the bleed, so you want to execute this from owning client, set the reliable. You want to make sure this is replicated. You can keep this an integer. And back here in the take body part damage, you want to set this. Check if your bleed chance does not equal 0. So that'll be a float check. And then you want to check your bleed check if your random bleed chance is greater than your bleed chance, and if that is, then it will apply a bleed depending on what's set in the damage event. And you can have that set per weapon and then plugged into the damage right here, similar to how other things are calculated from the weapon. You get that and you have that plugged in or set from there. So that's gonna be everything. Thanks, and I'll see you all next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and join our Discord if you have any questions or suggestions.